What is Matrix? Matrix is the ability to showcase that you can actually do the job properly, right? Now, let's meet Johnny. Johnny is one of my first clients. He's a brilliant marketer and he had a problem. He wasn't getting any results with his current resume. And so when he got to me, I helped him, and we started looking what the problem was. And I found that he made the mistake that most job seekers are doing. Now, I want to give you a quick tip. It's very simple and very easy to list your duties. Anybody can do that. But it takes real skill to prove to an employer on your CV that you can actually do the job. Now, how did Johnny do this? Okay, now, first of all, let's look at what is Matrix. Matrix is the measurement of your achievements. And what I love about this is where you really find out what your true worth is and what you really bring to the table when you go to a new job. You also prove to the recruiter that you can actually do the job. And oftentimes, and I've seen numerous case studies where even if you don't have the exact skills or have the exact qualifications, people still get the job because of this thing, because they can project themselves into the new job by proving that they have done and they have experience on certain aspects of the new job. It's not just saying, I can do the job. Now, you are unique. We are all unique. We each have different skills. We each have different experiences. We each have different values. So what you bring to the workplace is different from what the next person does. But still, you need to brand yourself in such a way that you really stand out among everybody else. Now, there's a whole lot of soft skills. And the nice thing about soft skills is they are transferable. For example, positive attitude, communication, organization and time management, resourcefulness, flexibility, risk assessment, driving change, mentoring, dealing with ambiguity, negotiation, all of those things. Leadership, yeah, I think leadership and communication have been so overused. I would rather go for the ones that is less known. I think you have a much better chance to stand out that way. Right, now here's an example from Jimmy's actual resume. Now, on his resume, there was one of these statements read, the strategy development. He assisted in developing and drafting, reviewing and implementation of marketing, tourism, development plans, and other business plans. Whereas with this one, 70% of his marketing campaigns was digitalized using MailChimp. This actually happened during COVID, when the COVID pandemic struck, okay? So the department was having problems because they would do a lot of in-person events and they would do a lot of their marketing that way. And so what we did was we took what he did and we actually focused on the results. And this was the real results. They saved 120 travel hours because they had to go out and go see clients all the time. So it didn't just save travel hours. It saved costs, fuel costs, staying over in guest houses and all of that. So operational costs, basically, which amounted to about 800,000 Rand. And then they also had 1,000% increased prospect reach. Now, which one would you use? If you were to hire a person, would you take the strategy development one, or would you rather go for the one that says, this is what I achieved, this is what I did, this is how we did it, and this is what we achieved? So it all comes down to show, don't tell. Now, Austin Belsak of Cultivated Cultures He's he's one of the LinkedIn influencers that I follow quite often. A lot of what I teach you, actually, I got from him because his stuff also works. But what he did was, over a period of 7 years, he looked at thousands and thousands of resumes to try and find out if he could find a formula that really works. And what he found was that your results, your measurable results. Now, the first thing that I need to say first is your resume is a limited space, okay? Now, you can't just go and write paragraphs at a time. You won't have enough space. And you also can't have a resume 10 pages long because the recruiters are busy people and they're not going to read it, okay? And so what he found was that the anatomy of a crazy effective resume bullet consists of 35% common words, 35% of hard and soft skills, 15% of action or power words, and 15% measurable results. Now, what does that actually look like in theory or in practice? Now, here we took that same example that we used before, and we did a bullet analysis on this. Okay, the score is 46. But just look at the composition of it. 70% marketing campaigns. Now, you see all the blue ones, it lists all your hard and soft skills. That was 24%. Action words saved and increased. Measurable results, 47%. Common words, 18%. Now, what you should always remember when you do metrics is it's action plus results plus your impact and plus your tools. Now, don't feel overwhelmed. It's really not that difficult to do. I know it probably sounds that way. But what I need you to keep in mind here also is that you need to include your part-time, if there was any part-time work that you did, you need to include that. Volunteer work, internship, even personal projects. If you're someone that wants to pivot into a more hands-on position, like, for example, you were a doctor and you decide you want to be a plumber. But although you've got all the qualifications and everything as a physician or as a surgeon, and you don't want to pivot into plumbing, now it could be that you might not necessarily have the actual Red Seal diploma, whatever it is in your country, but when you grew up, your dad was a plumber and you went with him everywhere. And so you learned the tricks of the trade, and you normally do your own plumbing at your own home whenever something is leaking or something goes wrong, because you've got the skill, you've got the knowledge. You might not have a formal education on it, but you still have those skills. And you can then include that as personal projects. So you can, for example, say, I fixed my own plumbing problems at home, and this is what I did. Side hustles, group work at university, clubs, etc. And then obviously your work experience. Now here's some more examples that we can look at. For example, this person led a stellar marketing team to produce 300 plus high-performing content pieces, which resulted in 20% website traffic increase. Another one secured 50 high-profile stakeholders to attend tourism promotion engagement workshop between South Africa and Qatar, resulting in a 60 million rand investment. This was actually all taken from Johnny's resume once we're done with it. Here's from another client. This client photographed a mini wildlife series, which resulted in 7,000 views on a client website. So you can see there's always metrics that you can use. And I'll show you how you can do that a little bit later on. Now, how can you determine your metrics? So I want you to tell me about a time that you actually made a client happy. How did you make them happy? What was the result? How did you facilitate a successful meeting? How did you resolve a conflict? What was the outcome? How did you save time for yourselves and others? Did you streamline operations and cut down on queries by 50% and so forth? Did you successfully collaborate with a colleague? Where did you go above and beyond? And what was the result? How did it benefit your previous company? Did you make something more efficient? Did you streamline something? These are all things that you can, scenarios that you can look at to determine your metrics. Remember, it's always about the outcome. Here's an example of questions that you can ask for specific jobs. So let's, for example, look at a corporate trainer. Now, for one specific client as a corporate trainer, you can, for example, ask the following questions. How many learners partook in this exercise? What skills did they develop during this training? What skills was I able to impart to them during this training? What was their final competency level? What was the final pass rate? How many passed this training? How many passed it with accolades? Where were these students before you presented the training? How did this benefit the company in the end? How did you optimize the add-in and redesign assessment tools and instruments for maximum learner input or output? What was the maximum learner output? Can you give it to me in numbers, percentages, or some measurable result that you can use to show that you can actually do the job? Here's for claims controller. That was actually one of my jobs when I was still working a corporate job. And this is the questions that I would ask myself if I have to write a resume for myself at this very point in time. For example, how many claims did I resolve on a monthly basis? Numerous. That is not a right answer. How many client accounts did you have? What was the monetary value of the claims that was resolved successfully? How much money was recovered for your company? How much money was recovered for your client? How many potential claims was resolved? And before they were actually billed on your statement, what type of claims was there? When you implemented the new system, what was the result? How many hours did you save on investigation, on finding paperwork, etc., etc.? To give you a small example, I worked with 6 accounts, and that was one of the largest companies in South Africa that I worked with. They were my clients. And so the claims that I worked with per client was anything between 10,000 Rand up to over R1 million a month. And those were the statements that I handled. Those were the claims that I had to resolve on a monthly basis, on a daily basis. And so I can use those figures, and I could then say, investigated and resolved 70 claims on average per week, resulting in 800,000 Rand surplus for Value Logistics, for example. Now, here's your action step that I want you to do. I want you to take a piece of paper and I want you to draw this table. And then I need you to complete it. So I want you to go through it, to take your time. Make sure you cover everything, because what we're going to do when we put everything together is we're going to take what is really relevant to that particular position that you're applying for, right? But you need to see what you've got. And you'll be amazed at how much confidence you will gain just from this exercise alone when you see what you're really worth and how much experience you've gained over the years, how much results you were able to achieve, and it will just really, really do something for you on a personal level. But also it will help tremendously for you to stand out among the sea of other candidates. It will help you be in that 20%. And then I'll see you in the next lesson.